Let's do it.
Yeah, we're live. We are live. All right. Good day, everyone, and welcome to Cold Call Battle 4. All right. We got a very interesting lineup of folks. Of course, all of you know, and I'm sure every one of you are hyped up about our guests today. But for those who are joining us for the very first time, just a quick introduction of what Cold Call Battle actually is. So we're not actually going to call real people and scare them away right now, not that. We're going to try and compete with each other on the call, right? So each of these callers here are going to bring in their own experience from where they come from, pitching their own products and telling the world how they sell them. Of course, how it's going to work is that, let's say, for example, our two guests here, we have Collin, Marc, and Soumava. Let's say Collin and Marc are going up the first time. Collin will have the chance of pitching his product to Marc. And at the same round, Marc will also have a chance of pitching Collin as well. Now, the biggest advantage, I think, of our panelists and our guests today, we have very similar kinds of ICPs or ideal customer profiles, essentially sales revenue leaders, which is good, which means that all of us kind of understand and know how to be the recipient of that call as well and throw the usual objections and the usual obstacles and challenges one might have as we keep going along as well. But before any further, let me just quickly announce or just tell you about our speakers here. Let's start off with Collin Mitchell. All of you know, very popular man who runs his own podcast as well, the Sales Transformation Podcast. Currently, he's also the chief evangelist at Humantic AI. Hey, Collin, welcome to Cold Call Battle.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be fun. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to getting in the ring with the famous Marc Mac and also with Soumava as well. So it should be a lot of fun, and looking forward to this cold call battle.
Awesome. We also have Marc Mac now. Now, Marc has had multiple roles, and like Collin was saying earlier in the call as well, he's got like a vast set of experience, been consulting, coach. Now he's also got his own company as well. Welcome, Marc. Big thanks to have you. The new company is called Carrot. Tell us a little bit about what Carrot does, and of course, you've done a bunch of things. You've done everything sales. You've been on the coaching side, on the consulting side, been everything, run sales teams as well. Tell us a little bit about your experience and what your new company is about as well. And of course, welcome to Cold Call Battle.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm flattered to be called famous by Collin, who's got way more infamy than I do. But I appreciate the invite. Great meeting you, Soumava, for the first time. So I was checking out some of your stuff as well. Yeah, Carrots just sort of grew out of just some iterations of other companies that my founders basically had failed a number of times outsourcing sales. And once they figured out really how you really need to do it and what to really focus on in terms of lead gen and market research and playbook optimization and those kinds of things, they decided to build their own company and invited me in to help build out the BDR sales team and the function there. And so far, so good. 2.5, I think we're 3 months in, and we've got 3 clients and a couple more closing this week. And so if you're looking to really get in front of the right people with the right problem at the right time, then maybe you give me a buzz and we'll talk about how we get you there. But other than that, I'm excited. I do cold calling. I've always been, a lot of people know me from posting cold calling tips and being on other shows. And so, I'm always into a cold call battle. I don't know. Call me weird.
Awesome. Never shy away from a cold call. And our third guest, somebody with a very interesting story, Soumava, joining us from Elevate HQ, who's predominantly worked in the hospitality industry, but recently made the shift into the SaaS world. Tell us about that, Soumava. What's your experience been? How you like that? So we've got like a very interesting mix of folks, of course, on the call today, and for the right reason, right? We're folks with different stages of experience as they're performing their AE or SDR role, joining the call as well. So it'd be nice to see how each of us handle that. But Soumava, welcome to the cold call battle, and tell us a little bit about yourself, and especially how was that whole transition? If I remember right, moving from the whole hospitality industry into this. It's sort of daunting. I wouldn't say daunting, but a nice, interesting, challenging industry. How did this feel? How's the experience been? And what do you like most about it?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the battle. And about the transition from hospitality to SaaS, I'd give credits to the pandemic. where the hospitality business was almost down the drains for about a year and a half, and that's when I thought of switching careers. Loving every bit of it so far, and I'm very new to Elevate. It's just been 2 months, so yeah, I'm looking forward to pitching it to you guys and maybe get a meeting out of it.
Hey, Soumava, I
Or
totally feel you on that, man. I was in hospitality right up until March 2020. We sold furniture into hospitality,
Hmm.
and my owner, I tried to come back in like June and July and try to focus on some things to try to get that business back up and running, but everything was so shut down
Hmm.
that he became depressed. Everyone was depressed, and I just said I can't be depressed, and so I started in SaaS. Like it was crazy. So totally appreciate your transition, man.
Thank you.
awesome. So with that, let's go with round one. So let me set the ball rolling here. So what will happen is for round one, we'll have Colin going up against Mark. So the initially bit will be Colin calling Mark, and then we'll take a pause, and then Mark will of course call Colin, and then we'll all regroup again and probably share comments on what worked well, what didn't work. Of course, folks, all of you who are on joining the call today as well, we'll have to pick one winner though. So every cold call battle has to have one winner. We're not doing the Olympics where we're sharing the gold medal. We're just giving one medal, one winner today. So, and you folks, all the ones who are joining us live today, will have to tell us what they felt about the call, what they think how the call would have gotten better, and eventually tell us whom they thought was the winner of the day or who had the best day today, perhaps in terms of their calling, right? So whilst the call happens, what will happen, Colin and Mark, Soumava and I will sort of sit backstage. Of course, we can hear what's happening, but it'll just be the two of you on screen, and then you can go whenever you'd like. With that, I think we'll just start. I'll just quickly just get Soumava and myself backstage, and the stage is yours. First one will be Colin calling into Mark, of course, selling Humantic AI. And then once the call is done, Mark, you can go ahead and then start your call as well. All right.
There we go.
There we go.
I thought they were trying to trick me there for a second.
Yeah. So do you just want me to be like, I'm basically a partner here at Carrot. So, I make IT decisions or have a say in IT decisions. So,
Yeah, so I'll just call you up and we'll pretend like we don't know each other, right?
yeah.
All right, so ring, ring, ring.
Yeah. This is Mark.
Hey, Mark, this is Colin here. First time actually giving you a call, but do you have like half a minute and I can tell you exactly why I'm calling you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so purpose of the call is really just to find some time on your calendar when I'm not calling you out of the blue like I am today. Are you available next Tuesday or maybe even Thursday around 10 a.m. your time?
Well, what am I committing to here? Because that's a couple of asks already. You asked me twice, so I'm wondering why am I going to sit down with you?
Yeah, I'm actually calling from Humantic. Have you ever heard of us before?
I saw some rap thing in the front of like the New York City Public Library, I think, for you guys or what, something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, it sounds like marketing's doing a pretty good job. So, sounds like maybe you've heard about us before, but definitely want to make sure that this is relevant to you and your team. I'm just curious, what are you and your team doing today? To better personalize and build rapport, not just with your own prospects, but even with the prospects that you guys are calling on behalf of, based on the fact that you guys do outbound as a service.
Yeah, I mean, what am I doing in terms of? Well, I don't understand the question.
Yeah, what are you doing to better personalize and build rapport with not only your own prospects, but the prospects that you're reaching out to on behalf of your customers?
Oh yeah, great question. Well, I coach my team to really try to dig into understanding who it is that they are calling into. I expect that they will do some homework before they either make calls or send emails, like look on LinkedIn or Google, get a 10Q or like a G2 crowd thing, research, do some research, it can't hurt to do a couple of minutes of research before you make a call.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're, training your team well to be informed before they go into calls or send any sort of communication. A lot of that stuff's really super helpful. How much time do you think they usually spend, doing research prior to working a list or picking up the phone?
Probably too much time, it's
Yeah.
analysis paralysis or whatever. But I try to make sure that that they're not spending too much time. I mean, I know they sometimes get hung up on LinkedIn. Sometimes I'll call them like glorified profile viewers, instead of really making the calls. I'm a calling type of guy, so I want to get them on the phone as quickly as possible. But I don't disagree with doing a little bit of homework beforehand. I typically try to get them to do some of it after hours, so that they can understand that that's what it takes to prepare themselves to have a good day the next day.
Yeah, definitely preparing that list beforehand, right? Not while you're working the list. So
Well, what is Humantic? I mean, you cut, like there's a reason behind you peppering me with all these questions. So, what are we talking about here?
yeah, so what it is that we do is we're helping your sales team be more informed about the people that they're reaching out to before that they actually reach out to them. So stuff that they couldn't find in their research, things about their personality, their preferences, and communication styles that would work best. Do you think that that's something that would be helpful to you and your sales team before reaching out to prospects?
Do you have like some samples of that data you could send me that might help me understand exactly what you mean by that stuff?
Yeah, so basically, what I could definitely send you some information. Happy to do that. Again, I know I'm calling you a bit out of the blue here. So, what my goal today was just to see if we can get 15, 20 minutes on the calendar. Happy to walk you through the product and actually show you, how this could actually be helpful to your sales team, booking more meetings, not only for yourself but also for your clients as well. Would you be free on Thursday, say either 10 or 12 your time?
Well, I'm curious though, like, is this like a list or a data source, or like I'm still not 100% clear on what, because I have a lot of tools, to be honest with you, Colin. I appreciate you calling me out of the blue. I get a lot of calls like this all the time, and everyone's got a different spin on their data, or like enriching my data, or whatever. But I'd like to understand about the applicable, like the applications of it. Like if you have some case study where you could show me like exactly how that impacts the call, or the call, like the conversation or the email, or how it would translate into those talk script or email. That would be good just for me to get an understanding. I really am a busy guy. I don't have that much time, really. I just want to be able to make sure that I'm making the best of my time. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I understand you probably get a lot of people trying to sell you a lot of different tools. There's not a ton of things on the market like this. So, what it is that we're doing is we're giving you insights into the personality of your prospects so that you can better communicate with them, so that you can build more rapport and trust throughout the sales process, all the way from prospecting to negotiating and closing. So, I know this is kind of a new thing. Personality, AI, and insights isn't something that's in everybody's tech stack, but should be. And I'd love to spend a little bit of time with you just to show you some of the business applications of how it can actually move the needle and drive more revenue.
so when you say personality, like how do you guys get that info? Like, is it just like habits or something on you're
Yeah, so
analyzing or something?
so in 30 seconds or less, we can scan the digital footprint of your prospects. You can do it one to one, or we can even do one to many. We can enrich some of this data inside of the CRM. There's lots of different applications, but like you mentioned, you're a busy guy, and I appreciate you taking as much time as you did with me here. But if we could spend about 20 minutes together, it'd be mostly educational, and then you could decide if it's worth going down the path with us. Would Thursday or Friday be better for you?
Actually, I want to look into. I can't really do this week. I can't do next week. I'm traveling. Um, why not? Why don't you send me some information, and then check back with me probably December 1, and I'll see where we could go set something up from there.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, I definitely can send you some information. But if there's something specific you'd like to see in there, I'm happy to send it to you so you can make a good decision here. But I've been doing this a long time, and sometimes I kind of have to ask, like, is there something you'd really love to see via email, and kind of process that. If that's the case, totally understand. Or if are you just being a nice guy here and trying to get rid of me?
No, I mean, if I wanted to get rid of you, I would have hung up on you, right? But
Yeah.
but no, I want to see like that, like how it translates. Like, okay, so like maybe an actual, like a little case study or a scenario that says like, okay, so with this, they were able to have, a lot more conversions because they were having better conversations. I don't know,
Sure.
something like, because I'm not the only one here. I got to talk to some other
Yeah.
people about potentially taking this on, and I'm not sure it's in the budget, and so, but I'll if you could just send me that stuff, and then
Well,
I'll be happy to put
why don't we do
something in the
this?
book for December 6th. I could do December 6th.
Yeah, December 6th is a little far out. Why don't we do this? It sounds like this week doesn't work, and you're traveling next week, and you're probably doing a little bit of catch up first couple of days that following week. So why don't I send you the information? Let's get something on the calendar that following week. Definitely don't want to bother you on Monday or Tuesday. Let's shoot for Wednesday, maybe Thursday. And
Okay.
if in between now and then, if you don't like what you see in the email, we can always cancel that meeting.
Okay.
So Wednesday, the
works.
week that you're back, does 10 o'clock your time work?
Sure.
All right. And I'll send the calendar invite. I've got your email here. Thanks so much for your time, Mark. Appreciate it.
Do you want to confirm my email?
Yeah, I was going to, well, normally I would, but I didn't know if you wanted the whole world to have your email.
Awesome. We'll pause there. Awesome, gang. Awesome. I loved how, I'm going to go too much comments. We'll come back and do the comments as well. But for a moment, I thought, yeah, seems to be like an easy call, but I love how you pulled it back in the end, Mark. You didn't make it very easy for Collin there, but I love that whole banter around the fact that you can't wait for something that's December 1st. For sure, Mark is going to forget about something like that, but I love how you handle that. But we'll discuss a lot more about that as we come back. All right, so continue with round one, and then we'll share comments about both the calls. Mark, it's you now pitching to Collin. Maybe not so easy as Mark did last time, but yeah, I'll leave it to you.
Well, he let me into the conversation easy,
I know,
but he didn't let me book the meeting easy.
He didn't. That's what I loved about it. Towards the end, it was like, hey, I'm going to pull everything back.
Well,
and that was
I
very
think
tricky.
it was.
Yeah.
I think like what I did to you is like I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Where they're like, maybe later even in it, they're like, send me something, and then I'm like, I do exactly what you said, right? I go right back into like, well, I could send you something. It's not a problem. Let me confirm your email. And then, and I'm like, I could do you one better, if everyone's specific, I have all kinds of phrases to handle that objection. And then it always comes back around. The unfortunate thing about booking meetings like that, sometimes though, there is definitely, unless if it's 2 weeks out, you got to have a couple of touch points in between. Yeah. Otherwise that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I saw you sort of smile there with how I handle it. I think you were wondering if I was going to take the December 6th meeting.
I was thinking you might, but I did appreciate you. It was a little aggressive, but I respected that kind of move, if you will. I'll do that same thing, but sometimes I don't know. It depends. Sometimes they'll tell me, look, the best date I can have. Like I'll be honest with you. I put it. Not that I'm counting on it, but I put a time in the book yesterday for January 6th. Like if the guy, he's a CEO, founder, owner of an almond farming company. And, that's the date he told me, he's going to be away for a month. And so I'm like, I'll take it, and if if you have interest, then you obviously don't have urgent interest, but there's not really a problem for me to solve here per se, because you're getting by without me. If you want to meet
it's case by case for sure. Yeah.
If you want to meet in January, it's fine. I mean, so sometimes when I talk to like people who are like, I was pitching for a private equity investor looking for investments. They're not looking to sell their company, or they'd say, I am, but I'll meet with you, but not until like 3 months from now. I'll be like, okay, are you just waiting for month end, quarter end to see what your company looks like? Doesn't really matter. Let's start the conversation now. It's going to take me 2 years to acquire your company anyway, legally. Why can't we talk now? So, but yeah, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, let's go.
So I'll call into, I guess, Humantic.
Yeah.
Ring ring. Oh, by
Hello.
the way, you're going to be the sales director, VP of sales, or something like that.
Yeah. I'll
Evangelist.
I'll play your ICP.
Yeah, or the owner. I don't care.
Yeah, or else it'll be short. I'll be like, yeah, it's above my pay grade. Sorry.
Yeah. Can I get the referral? Ring ring.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey, is this Collin?
Yeah, it is. Who's this?
Hey, Collin. My name's Marc Mac. We don't know each other, but how's it going today?
Yeah, not too bad.
Collin, listen, I'm not sure if this is you, but I am looking for the person who's most responsible for your outbound business development motion, if you will.
Yeah, that's me. What you got?
Oh, fantastic. Well, I assume you have a team over there. How they doing?
Yeah, we've got a small team. We've got two BDRs on our team, and fairly new, still ramping up, but things are going well.
With the 2 reps that you have, I mean, are they funneling like, I guess, inbound, or are they doing outbound, or how's that working?
Yeah, I mean, they stay pretty busy with inbound for the most part.
Wow. Okay. So your entire pipeline right now, totally based on inbound leads?
The majority, yes, the majority of it is at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I was checking you guys out. I noticed that, in fact, I think you have been engaged in a lot of, kind of product-led growth. I see a lot of people with free trials out there. I hear a lot of talk about it. If the team is really, that's great. It's great for the team to have just inbound to deal with. Tell me, is there an outbound motion that's going to potentially be on the roadmap for you?
Yeah, we've really been trying to get that thing kickstarted, but we just got so much darn inbound. Sometimes it's been hard to really get it consistently headed in the right direction.
Great. So with the SDR team that you have now, when they take the inbound lead, are they just setting up a demo for one of your account executives to actually handle and potentially close? Or
Yeah, I mean, they're qualifying them and running some, light disco and all that stuff. Yeah.
okay, could the AE team handle more, let's say, more opportunities on a weekly basis? Like, what are some of your goals for that over the next couple of months?
Yeah, we definitely have bandwidth to handle more. We're in, sort of growth mode. So more is on the mind for sure.
Sure. When you're reaching out to people, I mean, it sounds like it's all inbound. So have you done any outreach to find out if there is, like, at least kind of creating demand that way at all, via phone, email, or LinkedIn for that matter?
Yeah, we have, but it's very more focused on like larger opportunities. So not really a ton of volume, but very specific, very focused target accounts.
What's been the biggest problem when targeting those accounts that you've run into? Is it like in terms of like getting them to the table? What has been the biggest obstacle?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think we've done enough to have good answers for that.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking some of these questions, and I totally appreciate you giving me a moment and actually answering them. I work for a company called Carrot. Some of the previous iterations of my partners and I, we tried to outsource business development. We were going to build a team internally, and then we decided to try to outsource it. And each time we tried to outsource it, it failed miserably. And one of the reasons why it failed is, and what we kind of boil it down to, is really finding the right person, your ICP, the right person with the right problem that you can solve for them at the right time, right? And timing is the tricky part. And so what we found when we work with some of these outsourced companies, they would employ a one-dimensional tactic, like either just phone or just email or just LinkedIn. And typically what they really didn't understand is what the problem that we really solved and who we solved it for. And what they were doing externally just didn't really align with what we were doing internally from an inbound or marketing perspective. And so we wasted a lot of time with tire kickers. And then we sat back and we boiled it down to just a couple of, key things that it takes. And one of them, of course, is the timing piece. And that timing piece is the reason why you have to have a very structured and omni-channel approach to going outbound, because you don't know when you're going to hit that customer wherever they may be on the buyer's journey, right? Most of the time, your customers probably don't know who you are and don't know that they have a problem, especially when you're talking about personality.
I got a meeting coming up here soon. I hear what you're saying. I've actually, this is not my first rodeo. I've managed a few teams. We've gone down the outsourced path before, had a lot of the problems that you mentioned.
Yeah.
You said the timing piece is tricky. Targeting people with the right problem. How do you do that? How are you any different than the dime a dozen companies like yourself?
Well, that's a really great question. I'd love to get into it, but since you actually have a meeting coming up, if you could spare 30 minutes on Thursday, I got a time at maybe 2:30 could work. I'd be happy to dig deeper into that for you and give you a much clearer picture.
I'm happy to put something on the calendar if you can give me a good reason, but I haven't really gotten that yet. So if you can tell me, how it is that you solve this problem better than the other people that are reaching out to me constantly. I usually don't even pick up my phone, but I think a lot of things you're saying I resonate with. But how are you solving this different than other people in the marketplace?
Sure. Not a problem. Like I said, it's not just a one-dimensional tactic. So we spend the first 30 days in every engagement doing a rotation inside of your company. Our reps, our sales team will do a rotation inside of your company, understanding what you guys do at a very deep level. And then we spend another portion of those first 30 days rotating inside your ideal customer profile through our network of companies that we've worked with in the past and other leaders that we engage with and collaborate with on the side. Allow us to get insight and data into your ideal customer. Once we identify those key things and understand your customer and what you do at a deep level, we then start to deploy certain kinds of tactics, whether that be phone, email, LinkedIn, social, digital. We have a department in the company that will do SEO and marketing and help you on that side if necessary. But more importantly, when we do that rotation inside your company, we'll get to understand also what you guys are doing, what you're producing in terms of content, blogging, emailing, and link
we
our
don't need
efforts
any
with
help
that.
on marketing. We're all set. But the outbound sales piece, I'm interested. I've never talked to an outsourced agency that actually spends the time to actually deeply know what it is that we do. So that definitely stands out. But then how is it that you're targeting the right people with the right problem at the right time? That seems like a mystery, and you seem to have solved it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, some of them will, part of it is what you're already doing internally, as you indicated, right? Which is brand development, continuing to push out stuff on the social platforms and drive that awareness of your company. You're going to get that inbound. But then there's people who we might call today, but they're just not ready to have a meaningful conversation today. So we'll put those people through a nurture campaign, push them to your website, get them onto your blog, get them into your community on LinkedIn, get them into our community on LinkedIn. Continue to nurture those people until they are ready, so that when they are ready, they're actually probably just going to call us or call you.
And how are you nurturing them? Because I'd say my experience in the past was there's a lot of companies that can book meetings, but most of those meetings don't stick or never even actually equate to any revenue.
Well, fair enough. I mean, there's definitely, I'll admit that I certainly have had meetings I've set for clients that didn't turn into anything. That's sort of the nature of the game. You may sit down with a client and find out they're really not a good fit for you guys. However, at the same time, or they may decide that you're not a good fit for them. So I can't guarantee I'm going to have you close every deal I put in front of you. But our approach is, when warming that lead, is to hopefully only set you a conversation that's going to be meaningful, whether that turns into an actual deal with that particular client right now or in the future. They will be qualified leads. We do our best to, like I said, understand at a deep level what you do, so that as we're communicating that on the phone to these potential prospects, they're clear on what we do, and they'll either book that meeting with us if it's meaningful. Like, we're not like, you started the call. I mean, I can't bring this up because it's a different call, but you started the call asking me for the time. I don't do that. You know, like we spend a lot of time doing that kind of little bit of discovery up front to make sure that we're setting qualified meetings.
Right.
And I think the proof is in the
Sounds
pudding,
like
man.
you're doing things different. I'm happy to, spend a little more time together.
Great. Awesome. What's just so I have the right email there, it's at collinf@humanticai.com. Yeah.
.ai. Yeah.
We don't want to give it out, right?
Yeah. All right.
Hey, I appreciate that. No, I've been in situations, Colin, where I've turned around and said, somebody will ask me like, what is your differentiator?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, it's me. Like on the next call, when I get you on the phone to have that discovery call, sometimes you'll ask that same question to me, right? We've been asked that same question. Well, how do I know that what you do works? And I'm like, and I've said this twice, and one of them we closed. I basically said, I got you on the phone, didn't I?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I train my team. The other thing too, and honestly, I'll put this out there because it's the truth. Like, I'm not hiring SDRs that are or BDRs that are necessarily like, no offense. I mean, they could be good, but a year or two. I'm looking for people with real world business expertise and acumen that want to do outbound. And I know that's rare, but I think that's what it takes. I think you have to be able to pivot. I think you have to understand business if you're going to have an intelligent conversation, especially with a CEO or a guy like you who's built multiple teams and unicorns and so on. And I think, it's just, it's like, there's a lot of things we do that are different. I think it's what I've learned over the last couple of years working for another outsourced business development firm and coming together with my owner now, and what he's seen and done in his companies that, we talk about it on our discovery call. I mean, my owner has taken several companies to the tune of $250 million valuations based on this model. And so I'm going all in with him on that. And so far, so good. I mean, after a week working with a client of ours who has had bad experiences elsewhere, he's like, he can't even believe what we're bringing to the table. Like, it's just different.
Yeah, I think that's key when you are working in a space where there's lots of options, and having a key differentiator is key. At Humantic, we don't necessarily have that problem because not a lot of people doing what it is that we do, right? So it's a very different approach when people have maybe used something similar to what it is that you do and been burned in the past, and having a unique differentiator is really important.
The only thing that I would say, the only thing I was.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sandy.
No, carry on, Mark. No, I think what I was trying to say was that one thing that was common amongst both your calls, right? I think both of you all gave each other the opportunity to talk about the product and really pull that along, sort of try to do a bit of value selling and all of that. But one thing was very clear. Both of you knew exactly what you were selling. There was a lot of understanding of the product or the service that we were offering here. And I think that's a huge takeaway, right? So whether you're an SDR or AE outbounding and reaching out, if you don't fully really understand what you're trying to sell, there are several questions. I think each of you asked those right kind of questions at the right points as well, being the recipient of the other call. And if you didn't know how to respond to them, that call might not even have moved forward. It would have been, hey, I'll probably go check back and come back. So I feel like there's a lot of one common thread I think I observed from sitting on the outside, that both of you all knew your products or knew your service really well, knew what you're bringing to the table, probably definitely knew what your ICP was feeling or who they are, and essentially bringing in those right relevant keywords at that point. So at least that conversation progressed to a point, right? So I think, there's one observation.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, it's funny because I was catching myself. I was going a little long, and then you're like, I got to go to a meeting, and I'm like, oh, and
because that's real. That's what would happen.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
in that
no,
situation.
I totally, what I said in that spiel, I don't even ever really get into that stuff, to be honest with you, on the phone. Like, that's more of for the second call, but it's like I saw that, I felt that, I felt I was going too long, and then you cut me off, which was funny, and then I start, but you actually, by doing that and saying you had a meeting to go to, you then followed. What was funny was that you followed up with an affirmation of what you heard that was interesting to you. So then it was like, oh, well, you have a meeting. I'm not going to answer that. And then you asked me a question. I'm like, I'm not going to answer that question because you just said you had a meeting. Let's book the meeting. And then you rolled back and you're like, well, tell me more. And I'm like, oh, well, I could have been like, well, what happened to the meeting,
Yeah.
But I think, one of the things, and I for those people who are watching and I don't know if, you felt like this too, Colin, maybe because we were face to face, but I think the key thing that I've always really keeps the overriding theme that keeps coming out for me every day is just confidence, right? Like you have to have confidence. And if you speak with confidence, and I don't mean confidence like you have to speak in a very gut, I mean like you're able to bring the conversation down to here or bring the conversation right here, or, like, and just being able to sort of like, I always tell people it's like a dance, it's like you're dancing with somebody. Oh,
Mhm.
and the funny thing is you let me, like, we could have kept going on with more and more questions. You were asking them, and you actually gave me a lot more answers to the questions that I normally will never get that far into. Sometimes I do, but it's like, okay, so if you have 10 conversations or 12 conversations in a couple hours in a day, how many of them actually, let you ask that many questions before they're like, what are you calling about?
Yeah. Average cold calls like couple minutes.
Just to keep a tab on time, we're literally almost 40 minutes into the call. We've just done one, so let's move on to the next one. I think I think for this next round, Collin will go up against Soumava, and if in case we're running short of time, maybe we'll cut down the number of calls that we do, but at least we'll get each one the opportunity to at least make a pitch once. So yeah, Mark and I will be backstage. Soumava, I think you've been watching whatever is happening as well, so what's up, what's going to happen. All the best. So for this one, Soumava, you will start. You will pitch to Collin first, and then of course Collin will go and take his round next, and we'll just stay backstage. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Collin.
All right.
Ready when you are.
All right, let's go. Ring, ring, ring.
Hey, good morning. Am I speaking with Collin Mitchell?
Yeah.
Hi,
Who's
Collin.
this?
Hi, Collin. My name is Soumava. I'm with Elevate HQ. This is a cold call. Have you got a minute?
Yeah. Sure. A minute. Go.
Thank you. I'll be real quick. Just for me to be relevant here, Collin. You are the VP of Sales with Humantic AI. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And as someone with a successful career in sales, what are your thoughts on automating commission payouts to improve the accuracy of monthly payout calculations?
I mean, it's definitely better than, managing it on Google Sheets.
And so, would it be overstepping to suggest investing 15 minutes Thursday or Friday so you can review if what we do can enable your team?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, we're using Google Sheets at the moment. It's working okay, but we are actively looking at solutions like yours.
Mhm.
We've kind of narrowed it down to a couple,
Okay.
but for whatever reason, you guys weren't part of the conversation.
So, if you don't mind me asking, since you said you've already narrowed down on a couple of products, what is stopping you from going ahead and closing the deal?
We looked at a few and we've kind of narrowed it down to two, or we've narrowed it down to two options, and then the third option being, how important is this right now? Is this something that can wait till maybe like next Q1 or Q2 next year?
Oh, absolutely understandable. Would it be okay if I give you a brief about what we do, and you'd be the best judge of if we'd be a
I
fit?
mean, I get what you do, but your commission automation software, which I fully understand the value of that, but um, again, I don't have a ton of time. So if there's, something that you are able to do that the other platforms are not, or that is your, differentiator, that would make sense for us to evaluate you, I'm happy to hear that. If not, then I wish you the best of luck.
Well, so the primary distinguishers between us and the competition is we have a dedicated solution engineer for each and every account. So whatever modifications or changes that you need to do about your commissions can be done in less than 24 hours. B, we are much more economical as compared to any other products that I have so far analyzed in the market. If there are any
How
that
so?
we set it at about $30 per agent. Uh, I'm very sure you don't have a better rate than that. And apart from that, we've come up with a personalized nudge where each and every agent on your sales team has a nudge on either your Slack or your Microsoft Teams, where they get an update of how much they've earned so far, how much they need
Don't they
to.
all do that?
I am not very sure, but I can assure you we do that.
Hmm. Um, yeah, I think we're pretty set, man, with the options that we've narrowed it down to.
Okay. Uh, anyway, the purpose of the call was not, not trying to make a sale here. I just wanted to, get your feedback. You've been in the sales world for more than 15 years, so I just wanted to get your feedback
Hold
to
up, man.
see.
I'm not that old. You're making me seem old here. Look, I mean, do you have something you can send me?
I do, but you know what? I think we'd both agree to the fact that if I send you an email, it'll just end up in your spam. So what I can do is I can send you a very brief literature on what we do, along with a couple of hyperlinks, and send you a tentative calendar for Thursday at about 5 o'clock when you end your day.
Oh no, I don't work that late.
Oh, okay. So whichever time works for you. So if you find the relevance, you can go ahead and spend the next 15 minutes. If not, you feel free to hang up the call.
Um, Look, if it's not going to take a ton of time, I'm happy to look at one more option.
Hmm.
But it'll be dependent on what you send me. So like, can you send me some comparisons, to other options that I might be looking at?
Sure. For that, I need to know what options are you looking at.
Yeah, we're looking at Quota Path. We're looking at another one. I can't remember the name at the moment, but if you can send me a comparison on that, then I can find out what the other one is. I just can't think of it at the moment.
Sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a brief comparison of us versus Quarterpath and a couple other competitors. You be the best judge of which would work for you both economically and which will enable your sales team better. And I'll send a calendar link. I'll attach a calendar link to your email, and I'll see you on Friday. What time works best for you?
I could do like 8 o'clock
8 a.m. Eastern time. I see you're in
Pacific.
California.
Pacific.
Okay. So your email I have here is your first name dot last name at humantic.ai. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Cool. So what I'll do is for Friday 8 a.m. Pacific time, I'll send you a tentative calendar and a very brief literature of what we do, and we'll see you then.
Okay.
Thanks, Colin, for your time. You have a wonderful day. Lovely talking to you.
Thanks.
Let me come back in. So let's not do the split. Let's pause here and let's just figure out a good probing questions. I think Samoa, but I think it's. Let me also try and Mark. I'm sure Mark is somewhere there. I can see
I'm here.
Mark in the
I'm here.
background. Hey, Mark. Awesome. Great. Let's just discuss this call a bit, right? I think there are things that Samoa did that worked, things he could have done better. Also, I feel. Why don't we start with you, Samoa? Like, what did you feel about how that call went? It could have gone either way, and I love this call because it was very real, right? This is something that for sure happens, and for all the folks who are joining and listening in right now, this felt like a very as close to reality kind of call almost. Of course, Colin was trying to be a little easy as well in some parts, but principally, I think it was a very real call. So, Somova, just why don't you tell us what do you think worked, what do you think didn't work, and of course, I'll Colin and Mark feel free to weigh in. How do you think he could have navigated certain parts on that call? It wasn't a very easy call at some point as well. So yeah, Somova, we start with you. What do you feel?
I think it was a good call. But I've in my personal experience, I have not come up with anybody who's who's been looking at competitors, because if they are looking at competitors, they would have sold it, they would have sealed the deal by now. So that was like a bleak opportunity for me to push the conversation in. But apart from that, I'm looking forward to your feedback.
We start with Colin. Colin, you were the recipient of this. How did you feel? Did you feel Soumava could have taken a different? Of course, one very straight question you asked, right? I think he already had a seat on the table because you were actually in evaluation mode. You were looking at 2, 3
Yeah,
other
I
players.
was trying to throw him a bone a little bit, but also not make it too easy. Where it's like, hey, this is actually something that we're looking into right now, but we're already pretty far down the process, and so that was kind of like, I'm not interested in looking at something else. Um, I think the one thing you could have done a little bit differently there is that was an opportunity to ask some really great questions, like, hey, what options are you looking at? What do you like
I
about
did.
them? What don't you like about them? Right. Um, but yes, you asked one more general question, like, hey, why haven't you signed? And it was just like, well, I don't know if this is a priority. So that's the one piece of feedback I would have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to first start and say, like, one of the things that I noticed, and again, this is again what I felt like Colin did well, and I always try to do well, is you were very cool, calm,
Yeah.
and collected. Right? That is the key to any cold call, is not getting rattled, despite what's being thrown at you. Right? Like, or, acknowledging what you hear in the background. I always tell people, like, or if, they say something that you could relate personally to, acknowledge that. But you were very cool, calm, and collected. I would definitely have not. I dropped the hammer virtually here when he said that, because immediately what a lot of people will do and do wrong is be like, great, what didn't you like about those? Why you didn't buy them? Right. But that doesn't necessarily, like, just because he didn't buy one doesn't mean he didn't like them. He just, like Colin said, like, maybe it became not a priority. So I always go to, like, hey, what did you like about those? What are you really looking for? What are you trying to accomplish? Like, anybody who's going to buy something, they're not trying to buy your piece of software. Right? I'm not trying to buy Humantic's piece of software. I'm trying to buy what Humantic will give me. Right? What will Elevate actually do for me?
Yeah. Like, why are you even evaluating these options in the first place? Oh,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
we had a really expensive error that happened and we don't want that to happen again. Right. Then it's a really interesting conversation. But then I started to, sort of like, hey, send me some information. I really like how you handled that. You're like, hey, we all know if I send you an email, like, it's going to end up in your trash, right, or your spam or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is true, right? So I love sort of the assertiveness of calling that out and then keeping the conversation going. You also ask for very specific times, right? Where a lot of times people just ask for your time and not the specific time. And it's easier to get a commitment when you're more specific about the time that you're asking for.
Yeah, like real specific. In fact, I found a lot of the reps when I was doing some coaching, they'll say something like, hey, what's your calendar look like for this week or next week? Right? Now, what you're ideally doing there is you're getting them to look at their entire 2-week calendar on one frame, right? Like in one screen. And all they see is red all over the place, like all these meetings. Even if there's 4 hours in between two meetings, they're only getting a small view when they look at the 2 weeks. So eventually, if you say that, they're going to go, oh, I'm not good for the next 2 weeks. But if you say, hey, what do you look like on Tuesday the 13th at 3:00, they're going to go right to that specific day, open it up, and see that they actually do possibly have a half hour, at that
psychologically
time
it's very different, because most busy professionals, they don't look at their calendar at a week view, because it would just be overwhelming, right? They have it on today's view. That's it. That's all they can focus on, right? So if you ask them for a specific day, they're going to go there. Oh yeah, that's actually open, or it's not open. They might look to the next day, but I got this available.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. All good points. Now we have around 9 minutes of the clock. Maybe we'll do one more call and then we'll perhaps like open it up to the audience to ask us some questions as well. This time, let's have Marc call Soumava. Colin and I will step back and then we'll all join back in. So Soumava, you're going to be the recipient of the call, and Marc's going to try and pitch to you. We'll just stay back.
All right. So I guess I'm pitching pitching to Elevate. You guys are a new company, right? Series A or whatever, startup, whatever.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So you're the VP of sales.
Well, okay.
You could pretend to be the VP of sales. So ring.
Hello.
Hello. I'm looking for Soumava.
Yes. Who's this?
Yeah, this is Marc Mac. Is this Soumava Sen?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Soumava,
How
how's
can
it
I help you?
going? How's it
Good, how
going,
can I help
man?
you?
Marc Mac here. How's it going today?
Good. How can I help you?
Yeah, so actually, I'm not sure if you can. I'm just looking for the person who's most responsible for the outbound sales development team. Would that
Mm-hmm.
be you?
That'll be me.
Awesome. Well, cool, man. How's that going? How's the team doing so far this quarter?
We have a team of about 10 agents. We have about 25 meetings booked in the past 2 weeks. So I'd say it's good. What is this call about?
25 meetings booked in the last 2 weeks. Well, let me ask
Mm-hmm.
you this. Could you handle more than that? Or are you goaling to handle more than that? Or are you guys at capacity already?
Well, I'd never say no to handling more than that, but I think we're doing pretty well right now.
Okay. Is there anywhere, have you checked any blind spots? I mean, do you feel like is everybody on the team hitting quota? Can't imagine if they are.
I'd say 70% of the team is hitting their quota.
That's super awesome, dude. What do you attribute that to? I mean, obviously your talented leadership, but if you had to pinpoint maybe or guess what one factor has made the difference for you guys in the last, because I don't know, 25 meetings and of course, yeah. What do you think's been the difference for you?
Well, we work with buyer intent, so we work with a lot of intent data, and I make sure that my team researches the client thoroughly before reaching out to them. Because what I feel is, if you know the business, if you know the person, there's a very high probability of you convincing them to spend 15 minutes with you.
Sure. Out of those 10 agents, are they all booking their own meetings? Is that how it works? Or do you have like an SDR team and then an account executive team that takes the calls moving forward?
So I have an SDR team. They go ahead and qualify the leads, and the AEs take it from there.
Okay, so you have 10 AEs essentially. How many SDRs are
I
servicing
have
those?
10 SDRs. I have 5 AEs.
Oh, 10 to 5. Yeah, I was going to say that sounded a little backwards to me.
Also, Mark, I'm very sorry. I have to jump to a meeting. So, again, what
Yeah,
is
the
this?
reason no problem, man. The reason I'm reaching out was essentially I work for a company called Carrot, and we basically have developed a way to get our clients, work directly with our clients to put them in front of the right people with the right problems at the right time. Now, I know your team is probably doing really well, as you said, 25 meetings. What I'm also faced against sometimes, my clients will have teams internally, but maybe they want to test a different vertical, or maybe they want to test different messaging. So we sometimes go head to head with them, and we have the capacity, to really ramp and give you as many meetings as you possibly can. Although that's not what we think it's all about. There's a lot more to it. But if you did have some time, I'd love to, if you felt like you could use more meetings and you'd be interested in learning how we help our clients do that. What does your calendar look like for like 2 o'clock tomorrow? I'd be happy to dial back into it with you since you don't have time right now.
But it is free at the moment, but I will not commit to a meeting right now. If you have a white paper or something of that sort, send it to me. I'll discuss it with my team and call me back in a week and we'll set up something.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to give you a call back in a week. I could definitely point you to my website. It's a pretty general overview of what we do. We're essentially an outsourced business development team, but we customize our programs around 4 buckets that we service our clients in. And depending on what area you might need most help in, that's how we could determine, what I would propose to you as being a solution. So we could definitely dial into that and figure out what makes sense in that short 30-minute call. Is really all I'm asking. Did you have that time? You said it was free at 3 o'clock.
Cool. Let's do 3 o'clock.
Excellent. All right. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll send you some data on what I'm talking about, give you a little bit of an overview so that you can be prepared to ask the right kinds of questions, which I know that you'll have. And of course, you'll have my contact information. So if there's any issues, you can always reach back out to me. Just to confirm your email, it's xyzaaq@soumavasen.com.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well, hey, appreciate your time. I'll let you get back to it.
Thanks, man. Have a good day.
Good.
Awesome. Thanks. And I think I like how it was going at a point where you thought something else, and I like how somehow pulled it back. And then, Mark, you found a way to navigate through that and still managed to get your 30 minutes. And I think that's super important in that call, because otherwise it was probably not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that? Yeah.
I think, I mean, it wasn't my best, but I definitely, and he was a little easy, but I think that what I try to do is hear what's happening, right? And what was happening was a little bit of frustration, a little bit I gotta go, right? A little bit get to the point, right? Kind of feeling I was getting, and so I just tried to get to the point right then and there, and just give him a little bit, give him enough. But then when he broke it down for me, and he told me, I don't know, I could have went a lot of different ways with that, but I tried to listen and hear what he was saying about, having time, already having people. So that's when I went to that, like, well, why don't you put me up against your team and see who does better? Sometimes I'll ask about the vertical. Well, some people actually hire us to vet out new verticals or new markets. You may not want to use your internal resources for that. So, maybe that's an opportunity to have a meaningful conversation. So I saw that opportunity. So that's the direction I went. And I tried to close it quick.
Yeah. What did you feel, Soumava, on the receiving end? You were, of course, rushing to your meeting. You wanted him to
No offense, but in my opinion, if somebody has already said they're rushing into something, they'd hang up by the end of the third or the fourth minute. So
Yeah. Yeah, I might have gone for it fast. Like I went for it, and then you asked me to, then you pulled it back, and then so yeah, you're right.
It's
I mean,
it's difficult. It's difficult to really get a mock call to be as close to a real call as possible, right?
Yeah.
Because we want this to be really educational. So like, these conversations are definitely much longer than your typical cold call. But I think that we each sort of challenged each other a little bit. We were like, try to pull it back. Like, hey, you're not getting a meeting with me. There's no way. And then, gave each other the opportunity to sort of recover and say, like, how am I going to deal with this?
Oh, I lost you. We lost you till the end of that.
Oh, we lost Collin. We lost you the last couple of seconds. I thought it was just me.
Just the last word or two.
You lost me at the most important part.
The very last word.
You mean I mic dropped too early?
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
I think the point, the point is like these are definitely longer than your typical cold call, right? Because this is an educational session. But I think the point is we all kind of let each other get into a conversation a little bit easier than maybe it is, right? To just get a conversation going, and it's easy to get carried away when somebody's letting you talk, right? But then we all sort of pulled it back. We're like, hey, you're not getting a meeting with me, like, and then each of us kind of got the opportunity to overcome that, and then still, navigate through and get the meeting.
I think it's I think that happens a lot, though. I mean, I have been in those calls, where if they blow you off at first. I mean, I've had calls where they're like really blowing me off, and I was able to turn it around and have a 9-minute conversation. Like those are like victories like that. I dream about. I drink a shot to from time to time. I'm like, damn, that guy was telling me F you initially, and next thing you know, he's buying me lunch. But yeah, I think the reality of role playing in the real world is always been fascinating to me. That's why I started my own like live cold call coaching. Like if you go to livecoldcalls.com, that's my website. I do live coaching because I feel like, no role play really is real enough for you to start to build some muscle memory off of a lot of times. Right. And so what I feel like when I do live coaching, it's like, it's great because you listen to the live call and then we could talk about it. Right. And then I could suggest something, or you could suggest how you think you can make it better. And then the next caller the next time you have that call, which is hopefully 30 seconds to a minute and a half later, especially if you're using like, any of the calling tools, right? That you're going to try to implement exactly what you just learned 3 seconds ago. And I think like that's so much more powerful, because once you use it and you actually hear it work in the live setting, as opposed to just talking about it, it becomes that muscle memory, gets painted on your brain, and you remember it, and it becomes part of your repertoire. And I've found that what I could do with people in 90 minutes, right, of just small tweaks here and there, blows the doors off of 6 hours of Sandler any day. I mean, like, you're only going to get 10% of that on Monday when you take the class on Thursday, right? So when you do some live stuff, or even live like this, like some of the other live cold call battles where you're actually hearing it live, you're hearing people go burn and crash and burn live, right? And it's definitely, but I think this was pretty good. I think it was almost realistic. I think you kept it realistic, Collin and Soumava. So I had a lot of fun. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate this. And before we go, I think we're just a couple of minutes past the hour. For those, and just like Mark was saying and Collin was saying, and I think Soumava also mentioned earlier on, this is very much a simulation. And I think the purpose of this exercise is for people to come, listen in, share comments. It's never going to be true to actual life. But there will be a lot of moments or instances or parts of the call that will actually be places to see how our experts here can sort of navigate through that part. And that's the learning. And that's we pick up from that, because there's not like a boilerplate template of saying a call is going to be exactly like this. It's almost different every single time, right? So, and we just pick the best nuances and best parts of all these calls and use it for our calls and use it for our thing, right? So big thanks actually to all of you, to Collin, Mark, Soumava, for being here, for participating in this. I know we've run short of time. Typically, we would probably have done overall 6 calls, but yeah, that first session took a bit of time, but that's okay. That's perfectly fine. For the larger audience as well, for those who are joining us right now, we have something at Outplay called Call of Fame. If you don't know what that is basically we actually have live call recordings. So folks have submitted their actual calls and how they've navigated through and in their conversations as well. So do check it out, Call of Fame by Outplay. I think one of my colleagues might have dropped the link on your comments as well. And I think we've asked folks who's the winner of today. All right, and this is of course. This is basically who's had a good day of play today, who's been able to be on that role today. And I think, just going by the comments, I think the winner is Mark. So Mark, thanks a lot. Congrats for winning CCB4. Of course, all of you had great calls. Soumava, Collin, and Mark, all of you had good calls. This is very difficult to pick a winner in terms of a call. I think all approaches are very different, but I think there's some synonymous with the audience. I think a lot of them resonated with what you spoke, Mark, as well. But great learning from all of you, and do appreciate and thank all of you for being here as well. A little surprise as well, by the way, Soumava will be featured on our Call of Fame. So I think the next call that's going to come out in Call of Fame has one of Soumava's calls. So do go out and check that as well. The link is dropped on the channel. But thanks a lot. Hope all of you have a wonderful day, and hope
Thanks,
there's a lot
guys.
of learning from this.
Collin, thanks, man. Soumava,
Thank
be
you,
good.
guys.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tandeep.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Bye.